Hey everyone! Today we're diving into a fresh, drama-rich take on a classic, BBC's upcoming adaptation of A Tale of Two Cities. But trust me, this isn't your grandma's period piece. We're talking a modernized, twisty four-part thriller that swaps refinement for edge, romance for danger, and fate for a very plot-heavy web of revenge. Let's break down what this could mean for audiences and why it matters in today's TV landscape. What makes this different from Dickens, right off the bat? The source is Dickens, a story steeped in revolution, double lives, and moral theater. The BBC's version leans into a contemporary, volatile love triangle. Lucie Manette, Charles Darnay, and Sydney Carton, set against 1782 London and the shadow of the French Revolution. But the key shift is tone and tempo. This is described as a twisting period thriller with a heavy dose of romance and brutality. That signals a show that aims to be emotionally intimate while also spiraling toward high-stakes drama and shocking turns. Personally, I think the core idea here is less about what happened and more about why it feels timeless. A tale where two men, so alike yet so different in spirit, are bound to the same woman and to each other is ancient myth-level material. What makes this really interesting is how the adaptation reframes that tension for a modern audience, without discarding the historical backbone. It invites questions about class, loyalty, and how revolutionary upheaval amplifies personal betrayals. If you step back, you can see a bigger trend: period pieces craving contemporary relevance by leaning into morally gray protagonists rather than clean heroes. Let's talk characters, because that's the engine here. Lucie Manette is at the center, a beacon who stumbles into a tangled web of love and danger. Sydney Carton, sharp, brilliant, erratic, has always been the tragic mirror to Darnay. The show positions both men as worthy rivals for her heart, yet their paths diverge in ways that reveal their deepest flaws and strengths. From my perspective, what's fascinating is how a courtroom genius archetype, Carton, can become the emotional compass of a story about justice, sacrifice, and what we're willing to do for love. What this really suggests is a shift from grand revolution to intimate consequence. The real pressure point becomes the personal costs of loyalty under pressure. In terms of craft, the series brings together a heavyweight creative team. Kit Harington stars as Carton, François Civil as Darnay, with Mirren Mack leading as Lucie. The pedigree: Daniel West's historical drama background, Richard Clarke directing, signals a blend of tight plotting and cinematic mood. What makes this compelling is the potential for a stylish, almost film-like four-part arc that doesn't waste time. It's a setup that could combine the grandeur of a period epic with the pulse of a thriller. One thing that immediately stands out is the chance to see a modern thriller sensibility applied to period architecture, reliable costumes, but with sharper pacing, darker humor, and sharper reversals than typical sword and swoon dramas. Why should viewers care beyond this? Sounds cool. This adaptation taps into a broader trend, reviving classic literature with antihero-led stories that aren't afraid to show brutal consequences. In my opinion, that resonates with streaming audiences who binge for complexity and emotional honesty. What many people don't realize is that the series' emphasis on a twisting love triangle underlines a larger conversation about choice under extreme circumstances. It reframes a historical conflict as a moral laboratory where characters' decisions ripple through lives in unpredictable ways. From a production standpoint, the distribution plan is telling. UK audiences will get the BBC version, while MGM Plus will bring it to the US. That cross-Atlantic strategy often signals a show designed for worldwide appeal, balancing British period authenticity with a punchier, more universally legible thriller texture. If you take a step back and think about it, this is a growing pattern. Premium prestige dramas aiming for global streaming reach by blending classic storytelling with contemporary storytelling techniques, tight editing, visible tension, and character-driven twists that don't rely solely on pageantry. What does this mean for the landscape of period dramas? I'd wager this could become a blueprint for future adaptations. Keep the soul of the source, but tell it with the pacing and risk-taking of modern thrillers. A Tale of Two Cities has always lived in the tension between sacrifice and revenge. Reinterpreting that tension through a modern lens could unlock new emotional terrain, where the audience is asked not just to admire the era, but to wrestle with the emotional math of loyalty, memory, and what we owe to those we love. Before we wrap, a quick thought on expectations. If the show commits to its described balance, romantic heartbreak, brutal motives, and a murder or more stakes clock, this could be a rare beast, a Dickens adaptation that feels urgent, not quaint. A detail I find fascinating is how the title itself implies dueling fates and a shared history that won't be resolved easily. What this really suggests is a narrative design where two worlds collide and the characters must decide which version of themselves survives the storm. So, what's your take? Do you think a modern thriller lens can unlock Dickens for a new generation, or will the period piece trappings still overshadow the personal drama? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you're curious about how this could actually premiere, what episodes might look like, potential cliffhangers, and which scenes could be elevated through performance, I'll break down the pacing and scene psychology in a deeper follow-up. If you enjoyed this quick analysis, hit like, subscribe for more creator-led breakdowns, and ring the bell so you don't miss the first hands-on review when the series drops. Until next time, keep thinking about the choices behind the drama and how a single love triangle can ripple through a revolution.